Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up. Let's not waste any time. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $2.16 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is off 1.1%. Right now, Bitcoin 58,400 plus, Ethereum 2,600 plus, Tether market cap 116 billion plus, USDC at number 6 spot, 34 billion plus market cap, XRP 56 cents. We're off by 0.4 in the 24, and we're off by 3.6 on the 7-day. The range of price very quickly here between 55 and 57 cents. So it looks like we tested lower over the overnight hours and now coming back out of that hole. Hopefully. Listen, why can I laugh? Right? Because look, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I'm over leveraged in this position, but I feel comfortable there because of the years of research that I've done about the company and the project and the digital asset and the ledger itself. And that's how I feel comfortable about that. But all of that to say that the reason I can laugh and make jokes for myself is because I do have that confidence. And in fact, I was just talking with some friends and we were going over how, we could have never gained the position that we have in this space if it wasn't for this nightmarish crypto winner and this court case over top of XRP. And it's an interesting thing, right? Because, it is in that moment, that 4+ year moment that we're still in, that I've been able to do things that I think will lead to eventually one day changing my life and my family's life. And I hope that everybody out here has had at least some moment of time in that crypto winter to do exactly the same. And if not, I hope you're here doing it now. And I couldn't be more excited for what's to come because I think we all truly understand at this point what we need to unlock XRP's magic. And it's legislation and legislative clarity so that we can see the financial and traditional markets use the asset for its full-scale intended use. And until we really see that, I think we could see the spirit animals move the market because that's what we saw back in 2017, 2018, isn't it? We didn't have any massive new project launched on the network that sent it into a frenzy and went to 384. That's not what happened, right? And there was no real mass adoption that caused that to happen specifically to Ripple and XRP. So it's interesting to understand where these forces can come from that move the market, and yet we still haven't gotten to the place where utility is the price driver of XRP. And isn't that what we're all waiting for? I know I am. All right, sorry for that, but I wanted to share that perspective this morning because I know I've been getting a lot of messages about the down market. But I want to remind you right now, gold is $2,450.50. That's what I want to remind you of right now. And if you want any precious metals, because they have all the precious metals right here at Miles Franklin, and all you have to do is email them info@milesfranklin.com and put DIG gold. Dig gold in the subject box and just tell them I'd like to receive the special pricing list. That's what dig gold in the subject box gets you, and people have been very happy. Make sure and listen, it takes no time to get your gold or metals in your hands at your home. It's amazing. Try it out. You will love it, and tell them that I said to come on in. And speaking of which, this is Andy Scheckman, who's on our show recently. And Andy is amazing. What a brilliant mind. And so is Jason Cousins from Glint. And now they're working together, not only with their companies, but as a channel as well, bringing you content. Now, I want you to listen to this clip that DAI's put out here about how gold is going to legal tender movement across 20 plus states right here in the good old U.S. Now, I want you to think about this because think about what that impact could do to Glint, which you can get on link 2, hello, right? And then I want you to think about the idea of what's coming for the market if these states are actually in the throes of moving gold into legal tender again and using a product like Glint and their MasterCard debit card to spend it. Think about what that's about to do for this company and gold. That's why I told you to get that special pricings list. Take a quick listen.
Yeah, I never thought that when I set up Glint or had the idea for Glint in 2008 that actually we'd have US states working on this type of initiative. I'm actually in Texas this week because I've been invited to speak to legislators and treasurers across the whole country who are coming here to discuss, transactional gold and silver as legal tender, as you said, as is their right under the Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1, which states that no state may make a currency except, of course, gold and silver. And I think what's really great in this country is the balance that the US states have with the Fed or should have. And I think that balance is that power that the state has to counter what the Fed has been doing is now, the legislature is starting to wake up and say, we need to use our powers. And so there's this really strong movement. And we're talking about, I think the last time I counted, up to 20 US states who are considering working on drafting or even have passed bills dealing with or concerning or in relation to making gold and silver legal tender. And I'm privileged to be here and at all times speaking to some of these people and explain how easy this can be with a platform like Glint. Literally, we're doing this already. And some might say, well, if you're doing this already, why does the state need to get involved? Well, the state needs to get involved because, number one, to protect the rights of citizens to be able to use gold and silver as money, because, of course, the Fed could make changes in the future to legislation, but with the state's backing, they wouldn't be able to do that. And, of course, the other thing is to challenge the tax status on gold and silver, which the IRS currently classify gold and silver as even gold and silver species, such as the gold and silver US dollar, the eagle, as collectibles. You can't use them to transact really. You're just collecting them. Well, of course, this all changes when the state authorizes a gold and silver currency, and it all changes when it's combined with a platform like Glint to actually enable it to be used as money. So it's super exciting. I mean,
It is super exciting. I mean, this is remarkable, ladies and gentlemen. And I mean, shout out to him. And anybody can download the Glint app and get started and buy gold today and have it. And it's physical gold allocated to you, and they're insured by the Lloyd's of London. Check them out. And this is a reminder of what's coming here. Talk about integration of Web 2, Web 3 world. Apple has opened up their NFC payment chip in their phone to third parties now. I just reported the other day that Jeremy Alara from Circle and USDC was excited because this would be coming soon with the integration of USDC by access of the NFC chip that Apple is opening up for third parties, like Web3 projects, like USDC, right? I would imagine soon enough, hello, calling all developers, how about the real USD connected to Apple's NFC payment chip? Hello, we just tied in the digital world to every phone in the world. How about that one? This is exactly the moment I've been talking about. That moment where you see the integration of the legacy Web 2 world happen with Web 3. This is where you're going to see the real demand and need for developers to solve some immediate problems, like bringing the two of these technologies together seamlessly without any concern for attack for whatever's built to integrate them. So this is, to me, again, this is the moment that's coming. This is why I've always said we need legislation and clarity to open up the logjam to really drive that Cambrian explosion for our new ideas and to solve problems for Web 2 companies coming to Web 3 and the ledger. This, to me, is that moment where we need that. And having that clarity will allow for that explosion of activity to happen on the network. And I think it's coming. I think it's coming very soon. But that doesn't mean we got problems in front of us. But nonetheless, let's hear about the newest players to get into this crypto market, ETF or otherwise.
Reporting on the Wall Street firm that's getting more and leaning into that Bitcoin trade. Mac, who is it?
Goldman Sachs.
Okay.
So this week we got a fresh take on what institutional adoption looks like with those U.S. spot Bitcoin ETFs. And Goldman Sachs added $418 million across 7 different U.S. spot Bitcoin ETFs, more than half of that in BlackRock, the IBIT fund. And what's interesting is that it was just in April that their wealth management unit CIO told the Wall Street Journal that there wasn't much client appetite for that product. Clearly that tune has changed. You've seen other banks jump in, HSBC, Bank of America.
Morgan Stanley.
Morgan Stanley. But what's interesting is that they actually paired their holdings in these spot Bitcoin products.
They just pitch them more to their clients, apparently, right now.
Yeah,
Listen, so
as of the last week, there are 15,000 FAs are now allowed to pitch it out to certain clients.
Now,
15,000 financial advisors are now allowed to pitch it to their clients. Real quick story. I remember when I was instructed and teaching drums and touring and playing, and one of the guys I was working for at his store was like, hey, what's going on with this crypto stuff? And then, of course, he came back and he's like, yeah, I talked to my financial advisor, and he said to stay away from this stuff. And I was like, hey, man, that's the equivalent of you asking a Cadillac salesman if you should buy a Harley. The guy can't sell you a Harley, right? Because he's a Cadillac salesman. But today, he just got the ability to sell you that Harley. And guess what? That guy's going to want to sell that Harley to everybody out here, because for over a decade, those financial advisors have had their hands cuffed while they watch their own customers walk across the street to get 40, 50, 60,000% gain rides after suffering 90+% losses, through the cycles of crypto. And they're tickled to do it. So the FAs, the financial advisors, believe me, they're glad to get their fingers on this. And even more so when the market begins to collapse and correct. So I want to remind people, I don't know if you remember, and anybody who's been in the space for a while remembers when Brian Brooks asserted that XRP is not attempting to substitute the US dollar. In fact, what it is doing is disrupting the banking system. And he emphasized that XRP and other digital assets like Ethereum are designed to disrupt the centralized banking system by enabling decentralized networks where users have control rather than bank CEOs. And that's why I believe we're in this fight. And coming to that, remember this? Remember when Gary Gendler was teaching at MIT? And remember when he explained why I believe the SEC was used to weaponized so it could sue companies in the crypto space? Listen to this.
And by the way, just replacing one central monopolist with another central monopolist, a lot of commercial banks aren't terribly excited about that. Maybe you're going to have to give some ownership. Maybe you'll have to give 50% of your ownership to the 20 banks.
And what did they get fined? They got fined $125 million. Now, that's not 50% of their ownership, but that is looking to get a piece of your pie, a pay to play. Remember, SEC sued Tesla, SEC sued Amazon, SEC sued Microsoft.
That are now, part of this. I mean, there are other ways to build incentive systems. Maybe you put a native token in there, and you give them the native token. So there may be other incentive ways to beat the current monopolist. But I, having been around commercial banks for a long time, they really are looking for ways to replace their aggregators in their back office, whether it's clearing, settlement, exchanges, credit agencies. But they are deeply understanding, because they are pretty ambitious and very good at making money as well. They deeply understand that every idea that's pitched to them is somebody who currently is small but wants to get big and gain market power.
Like a ripple.
So they're also always thinking about how to ensure that there's a check to slow down your startup from gaining market power 5, 10, and 15 years from now. They don't want you to be the next clearinghouse like the Chicago Mercantile Exchange or Intercontinental Exchange. They don't want you to be the next central node of market power.
So they sue you, right? So they sue you broadly, and they lie if they need to, arbitrary and capricious, right? Unfaithful allegiance to the law, they weaponize a government agency and have you sued and hopefully break your back with the pressure of court cases and a lawsuit. In fact, let's listen to the latest here from Stuart Alderoty talking to J.W. Verrett. You're going to love this. Remember, I've always believed that this is going to the Supreme Court, and I would be happy to be wrong about this, but I believe that is only because XRP and Ripple and the XRP ledger are so important to the U.S.'s participation in the digital economy that it is a major part of their infrastructure, a pillar, if you will. I even see Stellar and Circle as another part of these pillars, like three main pillars. Throw Paxos in there. They're always in all the government meetings. There's all these Treasury officials that have come through Ripple's camp, including the 43rd Treasurer of the United States of America, Rosie Rios. And yet here we see from Stuart Alderoty expressing that the SEC is not a rational actor and they probably will appeal. And this may even go to the highest court in the land. But if all the money is going to run across an XRP Ledger's decentralized exchange, I think it's fitting that it go there. Take a listen.
If the SEC were a rational actor, they should just move on from this case. Again, the court's finding that there are no victims here, that no one suffered any loss in this case. There are no allegations of fraud. Nothing in this case advances the core mission of the SEC. But we all know that when it comes to crypto, the SEC has proven itself not to be rational. In fact, the court, in our case, criticized the SEC for engaging in litigation gamesmanship and tactics rather than faithfully applying the law. So I wouldn't be surprised if the SEC does appeal, but I'll say a couple of things. Number one, and I think this is important for folks to appreciate and understand, XRP's status as not a security and the secondary market trading of XRP as not security transactions, that is the law of the land. And that does not change even if the SEC appeals. And I would ask everyone to focus on that. I would also ask people to focus on if they appeal, and again, I hope they don't, and if they're a rational actor, they shouldn't, but they're not rational. Statistically, the Court of Appeals, specifically the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, where this case will go, reverses lower courts less than 10% of the time. And given Judge Torres's careful and thoughtful treatment of all of the issues in this case, we're very confident that any appeal would stand a challenge by the SEC. So again, if I were advising the SEC, not as Ripple's chief legal officer, but as a lawyer who's been doing this for a long time, I would recommend that they do not appeal. This case was an overreach from the outset. They've got a terrible record. I would say, look, SEC, go back to your core mission of protecting investors in the market and stop focusing on cases where there were no harm to investors and there was no harm to the market other than the harm that you visited by actually filing the suit. Amen. And if I were the SEC, on a good day, I would avoid the Supreme Court. With this Supreme Court, I don't think that they stand a reasonable chance of prevailing on any of their theories. Whether or not a token in and of itself can be a security, no, it cannot be. A token doesn't embody, an ecosystem. All of those theories that they've been trying to expand the securities law that were soundly rejected in our case, they're going to continue to be rejected by courts of appeals, and ultimately they're going to be rejected by the Supreme Court.
And ultimately they're going to be rejected by the Supreme Court. Stuart Alderoty believes that they're going to the Supreme Court. And as any great legal officer would be, right, chief legal officer would be, you have to be prepared to go the distance. We're going the distance. Going for speed. Yeah, listen, I say go. Right? You've come this far. Let's go to the highest court of the land. Let's get that final word where no one else could ever challenge it ever again. And then let's sit back and watch what it does. Because that's how important it is. That's what I believe. And I believe XRP can take off and do lots of beautiful things, even with the good decision that it has now, even if the SEC decides to appeal. Because as Stuart Alderoty said, the law of the land is the law of the land. And XRP in and of itself is not a security. And neither are programmatic sales on secondary market. That's going to do it for me. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Catch you all on the next one.